Hello everyone, my name is Himanshu Sharma, and in this video we will set up endpoint authorization using Spring Security. So let's get started and head to the Spring Initializer website. We'll be creating Maven project and we say Himanshu, artifact is Spring Security Auth. And Java 17 packaging jar, and the dependencies we'll be using web and security. Alright, let's see how the POM looks like. So we'll be getting security and the web. Go ahead, generate the project and open it in your favorite IDE. I have the project in IntelliJ, so let's revisit the POM. We have the security and the web, and those are the only two required. So first let's create a controller. Say package controller, and then we say app controller. Alright, let's mark it as a REST controller and define an endpoint. So let's say hello, and then we say get mapping hello, and we return hello from application. Alright, now quickly restart the application. In fact, this is the first start, so let's start the application. And since we have the security in our dependencies, we should get a generated password in the log. Yes, so let's use it, and I'm going to open Postman. Here let's create a request. It's going to be localhost 8080, and then we are saying hello, and in case of authorization we'll be selecting basic auth, and the default user is user, and the password is the one which we copied from the log. Run it, and yes, it is working. Now let's head to the application. First, the most important one, let's give some colors to our log. We say Spring output and say enable always. Right, so now we should get a colorful one. And now let's head to the configuration part. So let's create a package config, and we say create class security config. Most of the things will remain same as we discussed in my previous videos. So we mark it as configuration, and then we need three things. First one is a bean for security filter chain. Alright, and this is going to use HTTP security. Alright, and then we say return null for now, and this is going to be a bean. Second thing, we need couple of users. So we say user detail service, and then again let's mark it as null for now, and then define it as a bean. And the third one is we need an password encoder. So we say public password encoder, and then we say return null for now, and then we also mark it as a bean. So first create some users. So how we are going to do that? We will use new in memory in memory user details manager. Yeah, let's define it as a local variable. That's it. Now we are going to create a user, and for that we say user dot with username, and let's name it Himanshu, and then we say password, and let's specify it as 1 2 3 2 3 4 5, and then finally we say build. All right, now introduce it as a local variable, and we say Himanshu user, and finally we say in memory user details create user, and we specify as like this. All right, and then finally we will return the manager. All right, for the password encoder, as we did last time, we can call no op password encoder dot get instance, but let's do different over here. This time let's use a password encoder, a different one, and let's say we use bcrypt password encoder. Now in this case what I have to do is I need to make a small change over here. So when we are using the encoder, now we can say that encode this password while storing it in the memory. So we say password encoder encode like this. So now it will be stored, the string will be stored as an encoded password based on the bcrypt password encoder. All right, so we have our encoder in place, we have our user in place, and then for the security filter chain, let's enable the basic one. So we are going to use the first one. This one is deprecated, so we're going to use the first one. You can use this one also, but it is deprecated, so instead you can use the one with this, and we say import static method like this, and then again we can have the authorize HTTP requests. Again we have two versions, one is deprecated, so use the new one, and here you just have to do like this, authorize requests. All right, now here what we need is we need authorize requests. All right, so we say authorize request dot any request, and then we say authenticated, and then finally we say yeah, that's it, and then we say build. And why it's giving error? Because unhandled exception. Okay, so that's fine, we can say add exception to method signature, and this one we can either put a semicolon or we can remove the curly brace, but I will keep it like this because we need to extend this part more. Or let's do it, let's make the change over here itself. So we say like this, let's see, and yep. So authorize request, then we say any request, authenticated, and we are building. So what we are saying is authorize any incoming request coming, okay, irrespective of the endpoint. And for authentication we are going to use this user. All right, so let's restart the application, and this time we should get some colorful logs. Where are the logs? Here it is. Yep, green, pink, great. All right, application started. Let's head to the postman. Over here we have the hello method. Now this will not work, right, because we have created our own user with name Himanshu, and here 1 2 3 4 5. This should work, and yes, it is working fine. Now coming to the authorization part. So right now we have authenticated the request, and that's it. We are not looking for any kind of roles for this user. So let's create one more user. Okay, so what we are going to do is we create one more user, and let's name it as console. Okay, and it's going to be a console user. And why I'm saying console, because I'm going to assign this user after password. I'm going to assign a authority. Alright, and the authority is going to be consultant. This is a consultant, and the Himanshu user is going to be with authority admin. So basically we are defining the roles. Okay, so if you want to use roles, you can use role. If you want to use authorities, you can use authorities. They are more or less same. I can show you, like if you go with role, what it will do is, let's say role. Okay, here they just expect that when you are going for roles, it should be start with role underscore. Okay, but eventually they are going to create the authority. So let's keep it simple. Alright, so we have the authorities, and yeah, so now we have two users, and let's add that user also here. Okay, so the password of both the users are same, their username are different, and their roles are different. One is one is admin, another one is consultant. All right, so let's head to the controller and let's add one more endpoint. Okay, and here I'm going to say hi, and we say hi consultant. Okay, and then for hello we are going to say hello admin. All right, so let's head to the configuration. So what we are saying is, we expect that Himanshu user should be able to access only this endpoint and not this one, and consultant user should be able to access this endpoint but not this one. Okay, so let's head to the config. So we have the two endpoints created, we have the two users also created. Now what we are going to do is, we are going to update the authorization part over here. So any request, this one we will keep it last. So first we are going to say authorize request, and now we are going to use this thing, matchers, request matchers, these ones. Okay, so we say request matchers, and request matcher for first one is hello, right? So we say hello authorize request matchers. It's giving me error. Oh, okay, wait, let's remove this completely now. All right, so authorize request matchers hello, and then we are going to say has authority. Okay, so we expect for hello endpoint, a user is not only authenticated, it should have an authorization of admin. So we specify over here admin. All right, and then for the other one, we are again going to use this request matchers. So let's take it this way, and let's do it like this. This will be more clear, like this. Okay, and now for hi, we expect the authority should be consultant. All right, and then finally we are going to say for all the other requests, apart from this, we just say that okay, at least have them authenticated, and that's it. So we remove this one. All right, so what we missed the build one. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so we are saying for hello the authorization should be admin, and for hi endpoint the authorization should be consultant. Now let's restart the application and see how it behaves. Alright, application is started. Let's head to the postman. Now hello should be accessed by Himanshu, right? So let's hit this, and yes, we are getting hello admin, but it should not be accessed by console user. So if I send it now, I'm getting forbidden, right? But if I change the endpoint to hi, now console should get the message hi consultant, right? And if I change here as Himanshu, then now Himanshu will get the forbidden. Apart from this, if there is any other endpoint we specify which is not even existing, then it will say not found, because it authenticated, right? The authentication still happens. So if I mention it like this, see, now I'm getting 401 because I mentioned in the code that for all other requests at least authentication should happen. So that's how it is. Okay, so we are making sure that for all other requests the authentication should happen. And so what we can do is, let me create one more endpoint to more solidify the last statement. So we say other, and we say other endpoint accessible after authentication. Okay, and we can say like this, other. Now run it. Application is started. So let's head to the postman, and over here we say other. The credentials are fine. Send it. It's working. Even if I type it console, it will still work, because for other endpoints we are not performing authorization. We are saying just authenticate. That's it. Now other thing you can do is, if you don't want to access, like if you are too strict in your configurations, you can also say that I don't want others to be authenticated also. I want them to be completely blocked. So you can say, instead of authenticated, you can say deny all. Now check the behavior. Alright, started. So let's head, send it, and you see 403 forbidden, even though the credentials are correct, but other endpoints are completely out of the scope, because we specify deny all, and the request matchers are only supporting 2 endpoints. Alright, so it's better to keep it authenticated. Alright, and yeah, and one reason to keep it authenticated is, let's say if you put it as deny all, okay, so currently the application is running on deny all mode. So let's keep it like this. So now if I provide any endpoint, so let's say like this, I will send it. See, I'm still getting 403 forbidden. So when you're working with two applications, and if someone is debugging or trying to interact with your API and they are getting this forbidden, so even though this endpoint not at all exists in your application, the user will get forbidden error. It looks like it will look for the credential, that there might be an issue with the credentials, but that is not the case. It happens because you mentioned deny all, right? So it's better to keep it authenticated, so that the users will get the correct perspective of your application. So now if I run it, and here now if I try to provide any invalid URL and send it, I'm sure that okay, this is not even supported by my application. So the credentials are fine, the issue is with the URL. So these things you can consider as per your implementation. Now coming on to the request matchers, there can be a scenario where let's say you want to serve some static content like an image followed by some number. So let me show you like this. So let's say you have one more endpoint and you say name it like static image, okay, but the URL you are serving is something like this. So okay, let's head to the Postman once. So let's say you want to have an image like this, the URL something like this, img underscore this, okay, and you want to put the authentication part on this one, and the last three numbers are system generated, so it can be any number. So in that case what you can do is you can put authorization based on a regex pattern. So what you can do is, let's take an example of this one. So we say static image served, okay. Now let's head to the security config over here, and then we say request matchers, and then we are going to say regex request matcher dot regex matcher, okay, and here I can provide a regex. So in our case it will be like img underscore 0 to 9 and curly brace 3. All right, and then we expect this to be authenticated. That's it. So now we are saying is for any URLs where we have img underscore followed by 3 numbers, those needs to be authenticated. Run the application now. All right, so it started. Let's head to the Postman, and here our endpoint is like this. So we say send, and yes, static image is served. So let's change our endpoint. So we go to controller. Let's say for other image it is something like 783. Restart. So I just change the URL, and now here I need to say 783, send it, and yes, it works. Right, if there is any other number, let's say 780, it will say not found because that image doesn't exist. So this is more of a kind of a very simple naive example to showcase the regex pattern, but you might be creating the URLs in a different approach. You might not be creating like this, but this is how you can configure the authorization part for the regex for the URLs where you have something system generated. Okay, let's revisit one last time. So we created a controller with different endpoints. Okay, we need to make sure that hello endpoint is used by Himanshu user and hi endpoint needs to be used by a consultant user. And then we have created other endpoint to showcase the any request scenario. And we have one more endpoint to showcasing the regex pattern. Now in the security config, we created two users in the user detail service. One is Himanshu with authority as admin, and the console user with authority as consultant. For password encoder, we use bcrypt password encoder, and we ensure that while specifying the user, we are using the encode function of the password encoder. After that, here is the whole place where the whole magic is happening. So in the authorized request for hello, we specify that only the admin authority have the access, and for high we ensure that only the consultant authority have the access, and the authorities are assigned to the users in the detail service. For the regex pattern, we mention over here in the request matcher as regex request matcher, and this is responsible to perform the authentication on the this endpoint. Alright. On the application properties, the only one property we added is this one. That's very much optional for you. And yeah, that's all in this. So that's all in this video. Thank you everyone. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any suggestions or feedback. Thank you and have a nice day.